and Abhar. In fact, you guys should know. You guys actually burned the proverbial midnight oil to prepare all the research work, which were actually argued in the Supreme Court. So, a big hand to these guys.
So embarrassing.
No, it's okay. I know you guys, so I restrict myself to both of you. In fact, there are many more people who are involved in this battle, this huge battle, which actually was fought over a period of like 7-8 days. So there was a huge battery of senior advocates, junior advocates who came together, put their hard work, put their own intellectual prowess together to convince the 9 judges of the Supreme Court that this particular thing needs to be settled once and for all, and that is the business of privacy. Okay, fine. I'll introduce myself. I am Ashok Bagariya. I work with the Hindustan Times newspaper. I'm the legal editor, and I'm actually in the business of decoding what judges write, what the lawyers argue. Okay, so what we see here is that Gopal has brought this whole compilation of the judgment, which runs into almost 800-900 pages. But this is all caught up in legalese. So it's very difficult to comprehend what's actually written there. So what I do is I try to break it down for people I think will actually benefit from the understanding of this judgment. So before I start, I would like to just draw a kind of a framework in what I'm going to say. So firstly, we're going to talk about what is privacy and why is it important. So before we actually go on, I would like to know what you guys understand about privacy. What do you think is privacy? What is privacy for you? Can I have some hands? Somebody from there? Privacy से आप क्या समझते हैं? Anybody wants to take a guess? Yeah, please.
Yeah, privacy means whatever I do, whatever I choose, whatever I like, my opinion, everything is private. The state has no right to interfere in my affairs. Whatever I like, my beard, my sexuality, my opinion, anything which is a part of my interest, that's my right to privacy.
Okay, that's a very important point he's making. He's making that what is his right vis-a-vis the state. Okay, that is he's saying that there are certain rights he enjoys in which the state cannot interfere. Uske alawa, who else? Is there anybody who wants to say what is privacy? Anybody there? No, okay. Actually, privacy is a very, it's an abstract concept or an amorphous concept, as to use Justice Chandrachud's word. He says that it's an amorphous concept. You just can't define it. But, this is something, if you were to club it with your dignity as an individual, as a personality, as yourself, for instance, if I were to abuse you, or if I were to constantly sneak on what you're doing on your phone, do you think that it will be an abuse of your privacy? What you do in your bedroom, what you do in your room, what you do on your internet, what websites you visit, is this private? Is this privacy? Actually, your privacy, your right to privacy stretches from your bedroom to your internet room, wherever you browse. So that's called the informational privacy. But here, what was the need to define the right to privacy? We have been living, there have been generations before us, there will be generations after us. So what difference does this make? Why was it important to have these 9 judges sit together and actually adjudicate on this issue and decide कि भाई हाँ ये right to privacy है, बाकी rest is nonsense and whatever has been happening for the last 70-80 years, we are not going to get into that. So actually, before we get into that, a little background, I'll be overlapping what Prasanna and Apar have said already, is the fact that actually this particular case has the roots in the Aadhaar case. Actually हुआ क्या था कि 2012 में there was a petition. Justice Puttaswamy, he filed a petition challenging the whole Aadhaar project, and subsequently in 2012, 13, 14, 15 and finally in 15, after actually originally the government first said that this Aadhaar scheme was only for PDS and giving of LPG. But starting from 2 schemes, today there are 70 schemes, 70 government schemes जिसमें आधार की ज़रूरत होती है. So what happened was that the court said that before we decide whether Aadhaar actually violates your right to privacy or not, this was one of the arguments which were made, is ki that Aadhaar jo project hai, it is violative of your right to privacy. So when the court was confronted with this argument, the court had to decide actually do we actually have a right to privacy or not? या ऐसी हवा में बात कर रहे हैं. So it was decided that these 9 judges will sit together and decide whether in the last 70, 80 years, whatever the Indian independence, we are actually in the 70th year of our independence. And for the first time, these guys decided that we'll sit together, we'll decide. They sat together, arguments were made on this side, that side. The government opposed the right to privacy. They said that there is no right to privacy. In fact, on the date of the judgment, the law minister went to town saying, oh, it's a huge victory for us because this is a vindication of our stand which we took in the court. जबकि ऐसा कुछ नहीं हुआ था. Court में government took a very different stand. They were very vociferous in their attack on the right to privacy. They said that citizens of this country have no privacy, have no right to privacy, and whatever little privacy they have, that is governed by various statutes. There are other laws like Indian Telegraph Act. तो अगर फोन टैपिंग होता है तो उसमें थोड़ा सा it recognizes the fact कि आपका टैपिंग नहीं हो सकता. So there is a little bit of privacy. So there are islands of privacy which are given through various laws which have been enacted by the government in the last 70 years. But the fact कि fundamental right है या नहीं, this was to be decided. So the government started off with the argument कि भाई there is no right to privacy. No citizens in this country have no right to privacy. Then they went on to another important argument where the former Attorney General, Mr. Mukul Rohde, made a very strong argument in the Supreme Court that here there are people, privacy advocates who are saying so strongly that we want the right to be forgotten. So Mukul Rohde stands up and says, he addresses the court and he says in his loud moving voice that even these guys want the right to be left alone or forgotten, but the government does not want to forget them. So what is this nonsense you are talking about? There is no privacy business. Then third came another very interesting argument which was given by this Attorney General, Mr. Venugopal. He said, this privacy business is very elitist. ये elitist idea है, अमीर लोगों के लिए, गरीब लोगों के लिए नहीं होता privacy. ये सब अमीर लोगों के दिमाग की उपज है. And that is one of the arguments which was made. And in fact, that was a very interesting ploy on the part of the government. Basically it was trying to drive a wedge between, by making this argument, the government wanted to showcase to the people, here, look guys, जो गरीब लोग हैं, we are for you, we are trying to bring in a very progressive piece of legislation where we want to give you the benefits. But there are these guys who are elitist in their ideas and they believe that privacy जैसी चीज़ है, and they want to impede the whole project of Aadhaar, they want to derail the whole business of Aadhaar. Anyways, while dealing with the judgment, these 9 judges said that this whole raising the bogey, कि ये elitist concept is not there. Even in fact, even a poor man has a right to privacy. So this whole idea that only rich people have a right to privacy is wrong. However, there is very interesting fact, I'm just digressing from the point, is the judgment of Justice Chandrachud. There is a very interesting observation, or in fact Apar and Prasanna both missed, was the fact that how Justice Chandrachud overruled his father. His father was a part of the bench which delivered the ADM Jabalpur verdict. Okay, and it was Justice Ray, Justice Bain, Justice Bhagwati, Justice Chandrachud and Justice Khanna. So the only guy in dissent was Justice Khanna. All these 4 guys went together and said, oh, there is no right to privacy. And even if there is, you don't read it into Article 21, but that's again very technical, that's not going to go there. But what his son, after so many years, his son writes a verdict where he says that my father was wrong. And I want to set the record right, and I am overturning the ADM Jabalpur verdict. So that was one important point. I just wanted you, but that's just a snippet. But the core of the issue here is privacy is why is it important for all of us? Now, on a very serious note, these days we are living in this era where even for our smallest needs, we are going to the internet. Right from our grocery needs, booking air tickets, booking bus tickets, train tickets, whether it's carrying out commerce, buying or selling anything, whatever you want to do, it's on the internet. So every time we go on the internet, we leave an electronic footprint. So what happens is that these big corporations who actually run the internet, Google, Facebook, these are all big corporations, non-state entities as we call them. So what they do is that every time you go on the internet, whatever you do, you leave your footprint there, and these guys are compiling your footprints and collecting data. So what data do they have? Now it's a very scary situation when we see that in fact it was like Sanjay Kishan Kaul who wrote in his judgment that if you're trying to book Uber, so you book an Uber from JNU to go to, let's say, New Delhi railway station. Again you book Uber to go to Priya. You book Uber from JNU again to go to Vasant Vihar or Vasant Kunj. So what happens is the fourth time you book Uber, Uber will prompt. It'll tell you that, oh, are these the 3 places you want to go? And in fact, it does not strike us that how the hell is Uber throwing in these prompts? So this prompting business is happening because they've already collected that data. They know your traveling habits. They know where are you going to travel from JNU. So they have a good detail or amount of information about your traveling habits. So for instance, even if you're booking your air tickets, suppose you're traveling to Goa, traveling to Dubai, traveling to Singapore. So what happens the 5th time you again go on whatever website, it'll prompt you, it'll throw up a prompt that whether you want to go for, or probably they'll just throw up ads. Delhi to Goa tickets for 6,000 rupees, Delhi to Dubai 8,000 rupees and stuff like that. So how does that happen? These buggers have already collected their data and are throwing it in stuff like this. When we go on the internet, we fill in information, we go to various websites. What we are doing is involuntarily passing on information. Okay, we don't know. It's not our consent. There are also a whole lot of, every time you go to a website, there's this whole fine print which runs into pages and pages, and you have to just click and say, I agree. So what we usually do is we don't go through it. And trust me that if you were to go through all of the points they are saying, you would never go on that website. Well, whatever it is, what we do is that we involuntarily give informations about ourselves, our medical history, our traveling habits, our eating habits, and stuff like that to these corporations. What these corporations then start doing is they start, besides collecting this data, they start profiling. Okay, that profile could put you, so every time you're traveling from JNU to the airport and JNU to the railway station, so there will be 2 profiles. So one would be a category, one profile would be profile 1, which will be on a higher pedestal, where the person travels from JNU to the airport. So probably they have created a profile where they say, okay, this bugger has money, so well, let's put him in profile A or profile 1. So because every time he books a cab, he travels from JNU to the airport and takes a flight. There's another guy, there's a profile 2, where the guy travels from JNU to the railway station and takes the train to his or her destination. So that kind of profiling is not permissible. Now this is as far as the informational data is concerned, and it's a very serious issue, because in the days to come, what we are doing is that we are involuntarily giving informations about ourselves, and which will be used by these corporations, not just to control us, but also change the way we think, the way we behave, and also the outcome of all our actions, because they will be prompting us. There's so much of information overload these days. So what these buggers do is that they'll just start throwing information at you. And after throwing information, a particular kind of information they actually start shaping the way you think, the way you behave, and the way you act, which is very dangerous. And this is where your right to privacy actually comes in conflict. Because as an individual, you have a head on your shoulders and you're supposed to use it. Okay? Don't let your thinking be done by somebody else, whether these are big corporations, the government, or anybody. So, your whole personality gets compromised. So that is one of the dangers. The second thing is, this is about the non-state players. The second danger is the most important, that is the state government, or rather the government, as we shall put it. The government, by this so-called ambitious project of Aadhaar, has managed to collect data of all its citizens. I don't know, I think last time it was 93 हो गया था या 90% of the people had enrolled for Aadhaar.
123% in some states. So the maximum is not 100%. We don't know what 98% means.
So, you see, what it means actually is that almost all the citizens in this country have enrolled for Aadhaar. So where does the danger lie? The danger lies on two fronts. Data security and your right to privacy being compromised. Data security is a huge problem area. Now what had happened was, during the course of the argument in the Supreme Court, the government somewhere realized that they are not going to win this case. So as the matter was going on, they suddenly come up with this thing. They set up the B.N. Sri Krishna Committee for Data Protection, in which they are going to use it when the matter goes back to the 5 judges or 3 judges? 5 judges. 3. I don't know, we are not sure about that, whether it's going to be 5 or 3. Yeah. So when the matter goes back to the 3 judges, the government will go back to the court and say, okay, fair enough, we concede that there is a right to privacy, but at the same time, please don't strike down this law. The courts will ask why. Because the whole concept of that data breach or security of data is taken care of. We have set up this B.N. Sri Krishna Commission, which will look into it. We'll have regulations in place which will take care of the data which is being collected. However, we don't know. It has actually, Avar pointed out that who are the guys who are on this committee. They're all bureaucrats, except for 2 guys. One is the director IIT Kharagpur or Kanpur.
One is director IIT Kanpur, but he's also the director of CDAC, and he's also made an Aadhaar application called E-Hastakshar. And he tweets, his name is Munna, you can look it up and you can look at his tweets.
Fantastic. So you have this director IIT who is actually...
Both of, and the other one is a professor IIM, and he's written an article in Mint advocating how health information will be great when it's linked with Aadhaar. So they're taking public positions in favor of Aadhaar already.
So what we are looking at is that here the government has already set up a committee. The government has a brute majority in the parliament. So whatever you do, whatever we say, whatever we speak outside does not actually make a difference, because in terms of legislation, but it does otherwise make a difference, because these initiatives are really important. Because when we share our understanding of issues with each other, we are creating a kind of a wave for or against a movement, which is really important. And more importantly, what this does is that it gives you and me the ability to think for ourselves on issues which are important to you and me. Thank you guys. Thank you for